Here we have a vector question. We're given a diagram, triangle PQR. We're told that PQ represents vector D and R to Q represents vector C. And we're asked to express P to R, journey going from P to R, in terms of C and D. So instead of going from P to R directly, let's go the scenic route. Let's go via the point Q. So we'll first of all travel from P to Q, followed by a travel from Q to R. And let's see what these journeys represent in terms of these vectors. So travelling from P to Q, that will represent vector D. Travelling from Q to R, ouch, we've gone against the arrow, that hurts, that's negative experience. That'll be negative C, not C. So going from Q to R, ouch, that's negative C. So PR represents the vector D minus C. Let's now look at the second part of the question. Diagram gets slightly more complicated. We're told that this distance from T to P is exactly the same as the distance from P to Q, and that's an extension of that line. So if we're travelling from T to P, it represents vector D, which is the same as travelling from P to Q. Remember, it's the distance and direction. So long as the distance and directions of these journeys are the same, they'll represent the same vector. So we can say there that travelling from T to P represents vector D, just as P to Q represents vector D. The other thing we're told is that V is the midpoint of that line. So these two lines, PV, VR, are equal. And we have to look at the journey from T to V. We're asked to find out what the journey from T to V represents in terms of C and D. So first of all, again, let's not go direct from T to V. Let's take the scenic route. This time it's via the point P. So we'll go from T to P, followed by from P to V. Now, looking at the journey from P to V, we notice that's a half of the full journey from P to R, because V is the midpoint. And that's useful because we found out what the journey from P to R represents in terms of the vectors in part A. So we're at a stage now where we can say that this represents, well, from T to P we said that was representing the vector D, and then the journey from P to R, we know from part A represents D minus C. So there we have it, but it's not in its simplest form. And these vectors, they behave like normal algebra. We can get rid of brackets here. A half of D minus a half of C. And 1D plus another half D be 1.5 D, which we write as 3/2 of D. You wouldn't write that as 1.5 D. That's considered bad manners. So 3/2D minus a half C. So there's the journey from T to V represented in terms of the vectors D and C. And that's it in simplest form.